Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and today we're reading the first 5 books that Goodreads recommends me. But before we do that, we have to honor the predecessors that came before me and truly are doing the Lord's work. Yep, that's me. So yes, that is what we are doing today. So Goodreads kind of has this recommendation bar that allows you to get recommendations from an analytical system. So that's what I wanted to see today. If Goodreads can guess what I will like in a book. They didn't do a good job. But before we get into anything, let's see what books that I am reading. Roll the clip. Hi, how's it going? How are you? So today I had an idea and I wanted to document it because I remembered that Goodreads has a recommendation bar. I'm gonna go into the recommendation file and whatever it recommends me, I'm gonna read. I just got nervous. Okay, so the first one is Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is good because I've actually heard of that book. Okay, so the next is Sass and Sorcery, which looks kind of like a graphic novel about medieval girl gang as they tackle a serpent. Graphic novels make my life easy, so I'm happy about that. Okay, there's another graphic novel that's Monstrous, which is great because my friend just read that and loved it. So I'm like not mad about any of these. Nevernight. My friend Rhiannon just gave me a copy, so I won't even have to buy it. And then the last one, because we're only doing 5, is The Wicked and the Divine, which seems to be another graphic novel. Wow. Okay. I think I can do that, like, kind of fast. Like, kind of fast.
Fun fact, it's actually taken me so long that Goodreads has updated its recommendation bar and changed. So, yeah.
So, the first book that I decided to pick up for this challenge was Uprooted, which is a fantasy novel that I feel kind of bad for not liking. So the story follows a group of villagers who are controlled by this wizard, and he's very magical and a far-off being, and they call him the dragon. And every 10 years he comes down from his tower and picks a girl that he deems should spend the next 10 years with him in his castle in order to keep peace and whatnot. And so the girls, every time they go with him and they come back after 10 years, they never reemerge into a villager. They always go to pursue higher education and what have you. And this is where our story takes off. Our main protagonist does not think that the dragon is going to pick her because she's so plain and clumsy. But what will you have it? Shocker. Whoa. She gets chosen. I guess my one qualm with, or one of many qualms with this book, is that our main protagonist kind of stays in the same mindset as, like, I'm kind of promised that she'll have new evaluations of life and all this stuff, and to me, just isn't developed. The pace was also really weird in this book. It introduces a problem, and within that same chapter, explains it away or solves it. So in each chapter, there's a problem arises, we fix it, and then a new chapter starts, and it happens all over again, which feels very episodic and doesn't give me much of an ability to root for anything. What I did appreciate about the writing style is that anytime that the magic was coming or there's magic in the room, you could slowly see that the writing style was becoming more poetic. And symbolism with writing style? Sign me up. Was a big fan of that. But it wasn't really enough to pull enjoyment out of the story for me. And you mix that with, a bad romance, where the male has an unbelievable amount of power over the woman, a huge age difference, and he kind of sucked. And yeah, he went through character development, but we didn't even get to see it. It happens off screen, which doesn't prove to me that he changed. If you tell me he changed, I'm not gonna believe it unless I see it. Don't have your character development off screen. I kind of have the same problems with this book as I do for A Court of Thorns and Roses, and there's actually surprisingly a lot of similarities between the stories, which means it just wasn't for me. To summarize this book, it's ACOTAR meets Taylor Swift's Out of the Woods Yet. And then you have Uprooted. And after a kind of subpar fantasy novel to me, I thought, like, well, let's shake it up. Let's go into a graphic novel about deities. Which, I have to say, the art is beautiful. Pastel, really cool graphics. That's kind of all things good I have to say about this. So this follows the story of the cycle of gods. So every 90 years, a group of gods has to repeat this cycle where they are loved by the people, hated by the people, and then die within 2 years. But this time, they're celebrities, which almost gives it a feel of like it's Kardashians meets Supernatural. So this comic follows a regular girl as she's kind of just thrown into this god drama and trying to figure out things about world building stories. And you know, honey, me too. It was quite a ride. Even though I just explained to you the plot is really nonsensical. It kind of jumps around way too much without first establishing anything about this world or what I should believe. It just throws me overboard without a lifeboat jacket. Yes. And you mix that in with deadpan dialogue and making references to things that aren't relevant anymore. It just feels like a cheap shot. I think it uses its beautiful art to distract you from its lack of substance. Like, yeah, it has cliches and trope, but so does every book. But the way that other books handle it differently is that it's well executed. And I think with this graphic novel, it takes advantage of the fact that it knows it has a cool art style without developing its ideas first. Okay, next. So the next thing I read was Sass and Sorcery Rat Queens, which is probably the most fun that I had while reading because, number one, it's the shortest, so it went by the fastest, and it's just kind of a straight-to-the-point adventure. Now, this follows a group of ladies, as we can see, in almost a Dungeons and Dragon-esque adventure story. First, while they're trying to figure out why they can't go on better missions, and second, figuring out who is terrorizing the town. Nothing in this story is a buzzword or a turn-on for me. In fact, there are a couple turn-offs I don't gravitate towards when looking for a story. I'm not particularly a fan of medieval fantasy or mixing modern slang in with Arthurian worlds. I'm all for the female empowerment of a girl squad, just not a fan of ogres. Program. And the thing I found interesting in this book is I think at the core of that this is supposed to be is female empowerment, but there was just this weird element of the story where there was really big girl on girl hatred, but in the name of friendship, which makes it better. No, it doesn't. Which seems like it would retract some of the purpose of this story. Because I feel like it probably focused a little too much on missions and not enough on these characters, because I really know nothing about them. And that's the point of an introduction, is to make me care about these people enough to want to read about more adventures they go on. Like, that's the point. And this just didn't do that. Didn't make me care. Anyhow, it felt a little messy to me, and will I be continuing? Probably not. But let's move into the next book, which is Nevernight. Okay, so Nevernight, to summarize, is about this chick named Mia Corvair, who at a very young age saw her father be executed for being a rebellion leader. Mia wants to enact revenge, but before she does that, she has to get her accreditations first and go to assassin school. So she trains under this one guy and then is finally assigned to go to the Red Church, which is this well-established assassin school where everybody is gonna stab you in the back if you don't watch out for it. As she walks the streets alone, friendless, no one to love except for a cat. And here's the thing, is it well crafted? Yes. Is it what Divergent always wanted to be? Yes. Did I like it? Well, here's the thing. I think if you were not there for the pure dramatics of Nevernight, I don't think you're gonna like it. Everything in this book is well developed. It has a good world, it has good character moments, and the setting of the Red Church is really engaging. So if you are not there for the bloody assassin backstabbing plot twists, I don't think you're gonna like it. And I definitely 100% recognize why people love it so much. It's just not for me. There's a lot of metaphors and analogies used, and at this point I feel like it's been talked to death. And listen, I'm an English major. I love me a good metaphor, but I think it's overused quite a bit. Like, it feels like Kristoff figured out free verse and poetry and wanted to incorporate that in a book, and then sometimes it hits and sometimes it just doesn't. But yeah, I 100% know why people like it. All the core blocks are there, but the way it's delivered to me, it's not what I would have wanted. It's like, say I'm at Cheesecake Factory and I order my favorite meal, which is spaghetti. But when the waiter delivers it to me, I notice there's a fire in the background, so I can't exactly enjoy my favorite meal when I should be terrified for my life. And that's what Nevernight is. I am coming after Jay Kristoff's weird metaphors with my own. Like, all the foundation is there. It's spaghetti, but I can't enjoy my spaghetti when all my surroundings are distracting me. I don't know. I'm sorry, Rhiannon. I just feel like I'm stuck between liking the elements but not having an enjoyable time while reading. So let's move on to the last thing. Alright, so now the last and final thing that I had to read was Monstrous, which follows a 17-year-old girl, not 16, who at the very beginning is at a slave auction, which is quite the way to introduce a character, because right from the get-go you're rooting for her to get out of whatever situation she's in. Anywho, she has a tattoo with an eye in the center of her, which makes her very different from every other character. And not in a I'm not like other girls type of way, but more in like I'm not your average monster type of way. Because that is right, folks. She is in fact holding in a monster. Monstrous. Get it? Cool. And with the help of a little fox and a cat that spits out poetry, they go on a journey to figure out the past, the present, but to see what's inside Mika. Now, I don't know why Goodreads keeps wanting me to read dark, gritty characters with names that start with M who also have a cat companion, because I am in fact baby and a dog person, but there you go. It has a beautiful art style, but I just ended up not loving it. I know. Now, I will say this is probably one of the only ones I could possibly continue with, because I think it could develop into something I like in the future. But for this volume, I think it tried to tackle too much. Usually graphic novels, they'll set up their character's location, maybe politics in their first graphic novel, and kind of build off of that. And so they'll introduce you to a new concept or character in the next graphic novel, but this one kind of just throws you in. And it can be a little overwhelming, but I will say everything in the world building and characters are pretty solid. It just feels like, you know, when you go into Bath and Body Works and you smell the lotion and you smell the perfume and you smell whatever candles are in there, it just feels overwhelming. Like, your nose does not know what to smell first, and that I think is Monstrous. Well, everything is good. It's just got that Bath and Body Works over-sensory overwhelmness. There I go with the Kristoff analogies again, but you get my point. But I ended up liking it, and it's probably the only one that I will probably pick up the next volume of, because I really like the ideas. It takes a lot of time to get into, but I think it is worth it. So this is the only one I kind of liked. I think the whole point of this video was to see if Goodreads could pick a new favorite for me, and the answer is no, or a resounding no, because I didn't like anything particularly. They didn't give me a new Raven voice, no. They gave me a new Sarah J. Maas, which I never asked for. But on that note, it's okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. But let's move on. Of the fact that it has. Oh, okay. Let's just start over. Nevernight is about this girl named Mia Corvette.